All right. Morning, everyone, and welcome. I'm calling this meeting to order, and I'd like to kindly ask you that if you have a cell phone, would you please mute it or turn it off? And we'll begin with our first item of business, Pledge of Allegiance. Supervisor Worthy will lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Supervisor. Moving to our next item of business, call to the public. Is there anyone out there that has anything they would like to share? State your name and your title, please.
If you could approach the podium, please, that would help.
Hello. My name is Susan Green, and thank you very much for having this part at the very beginning of the meeting. I appreciate it. Appreciate you guys and all the work you do. I am a Clifton resident and chair of the Greenlee County Democrats, which I have been for 18 years. I'm requesting that the board acknowledge that fact that I am the chair, because there is, am I too close? Is that it? Okay, that's better, huh? There's a group going around that has had unauthorized meetings, and they have already stated that they don't care if the party becomes unrecognized by the state party, as long as I'm gone. So, and I think that would be very bad. I think it's really important for us to have our two parties represented here in Greenlee County. If that were to happen, we would be the only county in the state that didn't have an organized Democratic Party. So I really appreciate you considering that. Thank you.
To our next item of business, Public Health Service District. The Board of Supervisors will convene as the Board of Directors of the Greenlee County Public Health Service District and will reconvene as the Board of Supervisors following consideration of this following item. Consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda as listed. I second that motion.
Motion has been made and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it, so ordered. We will now reconvene as the Board of Supervisors, and we will move into our next item of business, the Flood Control District. The Board of Supervisors will convene as the Board of Directors of the Greenlee County Flood Control District and will reconvene as the Board of Supervisors following consideration of this next item, consent agenda.
I move that we approve the consent agenda as listed. I second that motion.
Motion has been made and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it, so ordered. We will now reconvene as the Board of Supervisors, and we will move into our next item of business. Jeremy Ford, Superior Court Judge, floor is yours.
Good morning. I'm grateful for the chance to be in front of the board. It's been a little while, so looks great. I don't even think it was painted black the last time I was here, so. What I wanted to do is I wanted to come back and just give a report on our recovery court progress. 2 years ago, we came before the Board of Supervisors and we asked the Board of Supervisors for enough funding to begin a recovery court. And I think it's very important that we come back and we report on what we've done with the funding and how we're doing. So we were given $6,000 a year, $5,000 to pay for the attorney who covers recovery court for us, which we're grateful. We have a local bar who's dedicated to the recovery court process. We'll describe what it is a little, but I think it's a bit of a sacrifice to do it for $5,000, but she has agreed and she is doing a good job in our recovery court. And then $1,000 for the incidental expenses related to the court. So just as a reminder, and I think for Supervisor Warren, who wasn't here when we started this, the recovery court is a unique treatment court. It's a different model of court. So generally speaking, there's a problem in the criminal justice system where the court system has all the consequence, all the hammers that you need, and treatment has all of the tools necessary to help somebody get better. When people go to treatment, they don't have to commit or stay with it, and often the addiction will get the best of them and they'll simply stop going or stop committing. using the court tools alone, we don't always get the treatment we need. The recovery court process has allowed us to combine those two things. So it's a voluntary program for people. We identify people who we think would be good candidates, and most who we've identified, but not all, have chosen to participate in the program. So they're individuals on probation. What we're looking for is the highest needs people. We're looking for people deep in addiction, long into addiction. We have participants whose addiction has lasted decades uninterrupted. That's kind of our target audience. So a very difficult group of people to deal with, but that's as far as helping them through recovery, but that's who we're looking to start with. So we bring those individuals in and we let them know you can do the normal probation model. And under the normal probation model, you're on probation, you get drug tested. If you are using, you're going to get a petition to revoke your probation filed. And the consequence of that may very well be that your probation is revoked, meaning you end up going to prison and serving whatever sentence you were doing originally. Under the recovery court model, we let them know you're going to be drug tested, not sometimes on probation, but twice a week. It's a lot. You're going to come to recovery court every week. You're going to do the treatment we ask you to do, which often starts in inpatient and then goes into intensive outpatient, which is multiple times a week in treatment. So what we're asking from people is a lot, but this is a high need audience that we're dealing with, and we're asking a whole lot of them to be in this court, and they volunteer for it. The other difference is when you do test dirty, instead of your consequence being after a probation violation hearing, which could take 4 to 6 weeks to get through, maybe 2 months by the time you're through a dispo, your consequence is going to be immediate. For somebody with an addiction, a consequence 2 months in the future might as well be 20 years in the future. They don't process that very well. So our consequence will come quickly, twice a week. And so if you use on a Friday, we have recovery court on Wednesday. By Wednesday, the first consequence we do is we give them additional treatment that they weren't receiving before. We send them to more treatment. If that doesn't work, the next time we'll do 3 days in jail, the next time 4 days in jail, the next time 5 days in jail. They know what's coming. And as a result, we've only ever had to do 2 or 3 of those with any given individual before they realize the consequence is there. But they're not revoked. They're with us. We stay with them. There's a wonderful group dynamic that develops. People really cheer for each other's successes, and we're disappointed and sad when we fail. It becomes almost a bit of a family environment for a lot of these people. Some of them frankly lacked parenting, I think, and didn't have a whole lot of that in their lives. And this is sometimes the first time they're both being praised on a regular basis and having good things happen, and being held accountable on a regular basis and having consequence and learning to manage through that scenario. So that's been our recovery court process. We've been running for 2 years now. Currently, we have 7 participants in the recovery court process. Currently, all of them are clean and sober. This is a group that, and it may be different tomorrow when we get back to recovery court, but this is a group that if you were to not have recovery court, you'd be lucky if you found one sober person amongst this group, whether or not they were on probation. They're struggling. We've had individuals, and I would never mention their names or anything of that nature, although it is an open recovery court. If anyone's ever that interested to see, you may sit and watch and see what it's like to be in recovery court. It's not a private process. In fact, they very often bring their family members to show them the progress they're making and what goes on in recovery court. That's a normal thing. But we have an individual who was 3 decades into drug use without being clean and sober, essentially their entire life, since almost childhood, all the way through their adult life, who's about to hit 1 year sober and will soon graduate our recovery court program. Last week, we had 2 individuals one who had never been allowed to care for their grandchild before, who for the first time was allowed to babysit or provide care for a grandchild. Another who had never met their grandchild before, who was able to meet their grandchild because they're in recovery, because they're doing well. And when we say recovery court, we focus on a lot more than simply recovering sobriety. That's a piece of the puzzle. What we want to recover is everything they've lost, which is family relationships, jobs, and employability, their own feelings of self-worth and self-respect in the community. We had an individual who was awarded, we have phases. Every time you complete a phase, you get a reward. And they let us know, this is the first reward I've received in my life. And they were not lying. Not through elementary school, not through adulthood, not ever had they had the opportunity to accomplish something. And they're so excited to complete the program because that means they'll accomplish something, even though they're at a place in the program where they only have to come every other week because they've done so well and for so long. They choose to come every week because they like it so much. I think they may keep coming just for fun after they're done, but so excited to graduate to accomplish these things. So I think we're having good success in helping people gain sobriety and maintain sobriety. It's a wonderful dynamic inside the groups right now that is very positive every week. People are very supportive. They clap for each other and are very happy at each other's successes. So in general, I wanted to report back that we appreciate the funding we got from the Board of Supervisors. It's not possible without the funding that we received. I wanted to report back that we've made use of the funding, and this is what we're currently doing with the $6,000 a year we have. We don't have any other requests at this time. I'm not trying to do anything other than report back on what we've done and show our appreciation that we were given funding for this program and have been able to do so. Happy to take any questions on our recovery court program from any of the supervisors.
I have a question, Jerry. Do you have that program in writing?
Yes, it's a policy program. We have a policy. Our participants are all given the policy and sign off on the policy when they join the program. And as a result, some of them know it really well. We have one for some reason who's almost memorized our handbook and sometimes lets us know because we were fairly new to this. When anytime that there's dates coming up or something we should be aware of, they do a very good job with that. But it is a policy program. It's in writing and we follow rules. The team is interesting because what we have is and our county attorney's office has done a great job in participating. We have a county attorney who's there. We have the judge who's there. We have probation who's there. And very uniquely, our treatment providers are there. So the people who are actually providing rehabilitation services to our individual and recovery court, they show up every week, one often in person, two by remotely, and they don't get paid anything for that. They just choose to do it as part of the program, and they let us know how people are doing. And then we have a defense attorney, but different than court normally. It's a completely different model. It's collaborative. We don't have sides. We don't take sides. When there's a consequence, we sit down and said, okay, right now we're ridiculously lucky. We'll knock on wood, but we don't have a single person less than about 90 days sober right now, which is incredible. We haven't had a consequence for over 3 months with our group of people, which is incredible. But if they do, we actually sit down with the group and say, okay, what do we do? And the treatment provider can say, here's what we can do to help this person. The court can decide, here's what we can do to help incentivize them to do it. And we just get perspectives. And the defense attorney isn't necessarily defending, and the prosecutor's not prosecuting. It's a collaborative effort to decide how we're going to deal with this issue. And people in recovery court are ridiculously honest. It's not usually the normal system of show up, prove I didn't do it. People who want that aren't good fits for recovery court. Doesn't usually work. They usually come right in and said, I messed up, I used. And it's actually a good process because they learn honesty. And sometimes they tell us that this is, being honest is a whole nother thing. Showing up and being honest about it and being able to own it because they know we're not giving up on them. But they also know the consequences coming. So they don't like it. I've had them say, well, I didn't enjoy going to jail a couple times. So it helped them make that decision. But I think learning that honesty is big. But yeah, in writing, we do have the entire program in writing. We're not the only county running recovery court type programs. Some call them drug courts. We've chosen to use a model where we call it recovery court because we don't focus on what got you in the door, but what we're doing once we're there. Our real focus is on, and they need to recover a lot more. It's not just stop drugs. Stop drugs is one goal, but if we don't get employability, if we don't get those things back in their life, they haven't really recovered. We need to get them back to where they're fully functioning. I'm very happy that several of our individuals have gotten good jobs recently. If there's anything that the Board of Supervisors could do to help, not as a board, but individually, is if you know of employers who will be willing to employ people in our program specifically. I have people in that program dying for jobs who really, really want to work. I have one who just says, this individual would really like to wash dishes somewhere. Someone would let them wash dishes. They would love to wash dishes. They want to get going because they are sober and they're recovered and they want to get that back. And it's hard for them because they came in with charges. They have a history, but there's no other group of people in this county who I can guarantee you at this point is clean and sober, who's drug tested twice a week, who's doing well, and they're not in the program if they're not positive pro-social people doing positive pro-social things. They're actually people, you can never guarantee the future, but I know a lot of people hire individuals who are not currently clean and sober and probably have a lot more problems than they've ever faced with people actively in our recovery court program. The only other thing employers have to know is that they still are an intensive outpatient. They still come to this, so their schedule is going to have a few holes in it where they're going to have to focus on their thing. But if you do know employers to say, they're willing to give people a shot like that. If you could introduce them to me, send them my way, I would love to meet with them, describe what we have going and why we can help provide them people that may be beneficial to them and would certainly be a big deal to our recovery court. I appreciate those who have hired out of our recovery court because we have some people who I genuinely think are solid workers who are in recovery and will do well for somebody.
Go ahead, Rob.
Just, I think the recovery court process is amazing to help to correct the behaviors or change their behaviors rather than punish, those behaviors. I'm curious, and it sounds like there's a lot of interaction with the recovery folks and doing the, drug testing and all that, the frequency of that. Is that done here locally? Then, is that done here in county? And also, like, where do they stay? Do they just stay at their home, or is there some arrangement made to where when they're in this recovery process that they're staying in a different location?
Those are some great questions. So our treatment providers, the intensive outpatient ones we have are all in Safford. We don't have intensive outpatient here, although we do have one provider, and we appreciate him a lot, who does travel here quite a bit to attend our recovery court hearings. Their treatment is provided by and large by access. So it's access covered treatment. I think in the long run, it's actually fairly a good deal because as we get them recovered, we end a host of other elements. We have people who are probably hospitalized and things regularly, given their usage, who through this recovery process are doing it a lot less and probably saving the taxpayers quite a bit of money that way. But access also provides transportation to them from our county to the providers. So some of them drive themselves, a lot of them you'll see the medical commute kind of vans around. There's various companies who do it. They're not perfect. They often miss our folks, or they'll miss a day or so, but most of the transportation is provided through access. So they'll pick them up here, they'll take them to Safford. There's several CBIS, House of Hope, very Awakenings are the three that are currently participating with us. So there are different programs that will let them do it. So they'll transport them down there. They'll do their intensive outpatient and come back. Sometimes they need inpatient, quite a few have. Sometimes they come in the door. We try the recovery court model. It just isn't quite working yet. The problems are too deep. They have to get out of the community. Then they usually do go to an inpatient rehab. Once again, it's an access funded type thing. And they're sometimes there 3 to 6 months, sometimes up to a year in certain cases, depending on the medical need. And then they come back into recovery court and we become what helps them both continue in recovery and recover once again, all those other parts of their life. So we help them continue. So sometimes it does take an inpatient stay to get them going. It really depends on the severity of the usage. So when I talked about who was multiple decades, and of course required an inpatient stay, it was not going to be able to start simply an intensive outpatient. Although I have been very impressed with our intensive outpatient providers. They do a wonderful job with what they're doing. And once again, I think it's a good saving in general for taxpayers and things because it keeps them in their homes where they're not having to live in a jail or in a rehab center on the taxpayer dime, and lets them be here and still work and things, but when they say intensive outpatient, it is intensive. They're multiple days a week in treatment, and that's a whole lot of treatment. So individuals of the program, we ask a lot of them. I let them know coming in the door that it's going to ask a whole lot of you. This is going to be a real commitment. That commitment lasts at least a year in a recovery court, if not longer, depending on how we do and what the need is.
And only because of the few things you mentioned, I heard but felt the correlation between the coalition, like my wife is serving up in Greeley County, substance abuse coalition, and to see all the benefits that they have in Safford with the household was one that you mentioned. Just trying to merge those two different efforts together and seeing how they can assist one another to assist the residents of Greeley County. Great.
And a shout out to my chief probation officer, Irvin Talley. That was a big part of what he did in the recovery court process, was to meet with those providers, because when we started this, we did not have any of that in Greenlee County, and he was able to hook the services into Greenlee County and find a way to bridge those gaps. So even though we don't have our own opened here, I'm not sure yet we have the numbers to justify it I hope we don't have the numbers to justify it, but in the future if we need it. But right now, I think our current collaboration with Safford, sometimes it's better to be realistic than say, let's open our own version of everything. I don't really believe in that. I think you have to look at the resources you have and say, how do we plug into existing resources? It's easy to spend money. It's easy to try to do more and more and more. And I think plugging into what you have, making best use of it is that. And really some of the best use we have is just the time of everybody involved. There's a lot of extra time. It takes time out probation officer schedules, the court's calendar, the defense attorney who's willing to come to the prosecutor's office. So we're dedicating time resources, which are otherwise free.
Well, thank you for spearheading this.
Yeah.
Making a difference in the community. So
Well, thank you to the board for
Single person.
Big deal.
Thank you for your.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you. And thank you for the board for the funding. It is continuing funding. We get it every year, but I appreciate you being willing to fund this program.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving to our next item of business, public hearing.
Nope. Number 5.
Oh, I'm sorry. Number 5. Oh, yeah. Looking at informational only on Jeremy. Okay. Number 5, informational only. Presentation by Arizona Department of Transportation regarding ADOT projects in or affecting Greeley County. The floor is yours.
Hoping you were skipping number 5.
We want to hear all about.
I saw somebody flinch over there. but
No throwing rocks, please. Good morning. Thanks for having me. I'm Brian Jevis. I'm Assistant District Engineer with Southeast District, ADOT. I've been asked to come and give an update on some of the projects. As I'm sure everybody in town is aware, we are doing some construction. A couple big projects, roundabout and the paving through Clifton, of course. We'll give a briefing on both. Unfortunately, paving in Clifton didn't work out as well to start out. We're trying to get a handle on it. I hope everybody's a little more comfortable now. I know it was rough. We've been working with FMI to get the traffic through. We've limited their time, working hours. The contract unfortunately allowed them to work from 6 a.m. till 8 p.m. That was our bad. I know we communicated with FMI before the bids went out, but what we've done is we reduced their time to 7 to 4. So we missed the shift change, and hopefully you guys are seeing a little better traffic lately. I don't know. I haven't been. I'm going to go drive the job right now. But anyways, unfortunately, by doing that, it increased the time. The production's a little bit less, so it'll last a little bit longer. But right now, the schedule is to have the paving done by the first part of July. So they'll be off the road hopefully by then. But then, we have to adjust manholes, do some striping, things like that. But by August 22nd, into August, they should be out of here. We should be done. And then we're going to do a micro seal coming down the hill, tabletop, and that'll be happening at the same time. That should happen here in the next few weeks. So there'll be a little inconvenience there as well, but that should go quicker. But both projects should be done on the 22nd. That's their schedule right now. Unfortunately, weather does hit us. We get into issues with that. The roundabout, that one's been challenging as well. I'm sure you all know. I just drove through it, and I'm going to stop on my way back by and have a chat with them. It can be a little confusing over there. That one is a little bit behind schedule. We've poured our last concrete pavement pour. We have to fix some that's not in spec right now. But by the first week of June, I believe, we should have it all complete and functioning. So we'll be able to use it here in the next several weeks, I hope. That's our plan. But there'll still be the other things to do. We're firing up the lights. We have to burn the lights for several weeks. That's happening this week. We got some drainage structures and striping and signage. But hopefully we'll be driving on it here in this next month, which will be good. We're doing another project over from the county line on 70. It's a micro seal through our maintenance program, state funded maintenance. And that should start here in the next couple of weeks, and that'll last for a month or so. But it's going from the county line all the way to the state line on 70 through Duncan. So if you guys are from Duncan, you'll see some action going on there as well. And I brought Elaine with me. She's our resident engineer. She's a smart one, just in case you guys have any questions that I can't answer. But other than that, what do you got? What do you got for me?
Well, we're not smart enough to ask any questions that require smart people, but just I appreciate the information and the roundabout, obviously, that's a big one I know that, you know, the delays going through Clifton up to Emergency is, I get an earful every time I go to the store, so.
One way in, one way out. That's what's bad about here in a 2-lane road.
That's right, but as far as the freeway, I mean, that's surprising that's gonna be completed within the next few weeks.
Yeah.
That's what you said. And,
There'll still be another work. They'll be done the end of August. It'll be full blown open. So by the end of August, we should be out of here with all our construction.
well, and I know that the improvements are desperately needed and that road going up through, you know, going up through Clifton absolutely needs it. There's never a good time to try to get that done.
Oh, I know.
Because that road is used so
Yeah, we-
much. But
And we've had comments, you know, why don't you do it at night? It doesn't matter. The
Yeah.
line works 24/7. Their shift changes and we're just trying to wiggle it down. And I've been talking daily almost with the mine, some people up there, and they're kind of in touch with the contractor as well. What are you doing? Where are you going to be at? See if we can move traffic here, there, let them out different gates at the mine and, you know, and so it's getting better, thank goodness. Because it was bad. I get it. It was rough. Yeah, our phones ran off the hook. I tell you what. But
How far north is it going?
to the second tunnel, go through the rock tunnel and then almost to Lower Eagle Creek. Does it go to Lower Eagle Creek? So it's like milepost 173. It's like a 10 mile project, Elaine. It's a $10 million project. It's good. Probably this is a legislative earmark. So the legislator pushed this money aside for you guys here, you know, which is good. It's state
Well, we all
funded.
say it was about time, you know, because
Oh.
you drive up that hill and you're
Oh,
just
I know.
vibrating on that road as bad as it is.
A lot of our roads.
Fortunate, it's done. Everyone's happy.
Yes. It'll be
It's
better
nice to
when
see-
we're gone.
Nice to see the progress.
Yeah, we get the complaints when it's happening, but everybody's happy when it's done, and that's the goal. I mean, it's the sacrifice for progress, I guess.
Mr. Chairman, oh, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I have a comment to make while I have the chance while you're here.
Okay.
The speed limit that got changed, leaving Clifton at the bottom of the hill here, up the hill. Used to be 55 and they changed it to 65. And especially with all the traffic that goes through here. And during shift change, that road becomes a drag race road of 2 lanes going up the hill. And if you're coming down, when you're coming down, those folks are in the center line and passing every car they can to, you know, to get ahead and get out of Dodge. It's really a miracle that there hasn't been a head-on collision going up that hill. I'm just making a proposal and a suggestion that it would be nice if that speed limit was changed back to 55 and turned 65 on top of it. Up there where the byway goes off to the side.
Mhm.
Because of that situation, because everybody is just, as soon as they gun it right at the sheriff's office and then there they go off to the races.
I've been
And
in it
if you're
before.
coming down, you better be paying attention because like I said, a lot of them are in the center line trying to get around 2 or 3 cars that they want to pass. And then on the other side of the, headed across the bridge, headed up from the 3-way up across the bridge. Now that one is,
That's 55.
55.
Yeah.
And they would move that one to 65 up there to go up because that's really a wide
Yeah.
area over there. And it's got a nice design to take off up that hill. And when you're coming down, you're braking all the way down at
Yeah.
55. And
That's the
it's just-
problem coming down. I
Yeah.
think is why.
So it's just something that, you know, something,
Because you have to have them
Food for
both the
thought.
same in both directions. You can't have 65 going up and 55 coming down.
right.
You know, but I can have a discussion. That's a regional traffic out of Tucson would handle something. They could do a speed study. I can put a bug in their ear and maybe come out and do a speed study. I know we're doing an RSA right now, a road assessment, safety assessment. That's in the progress and they've been, which I thought was quite interesting. They study the traffic, they count cars, they measure the speeds that they're going. And it's kind of interesting that the average speed from here to Safford is like 75 miles an hour. And they've had a couple,
Try
they
95.
they clocked over 100 miles an hour
Yeah,
going home.
Yeah.
Which I think we're having a meeting tomorrow with the sheriff's office in Graham County, right? And we'll have that discussion. I'll be a part of that. But, And I don't know how to control driver behavior. So that's going to be the big discussion. How do we control driver behavior?
And he's doing an excellent job.
Well, good, because that, DPS needs to be involved and the sheriff's office need to be involved and start writing tickets and that'll get their attention.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we've had some bad accidents in Solomon. I don't know if people are falling asleep or just in a hurry, but we've had a couple of fatalities right there in Solomon here in the last couple of years, and it's sad, sad. I don't know what to do about it. What else?
A couple of things, and I know Supervisor Warren may ask you more about this. The first, a micro, did you call it a micro seal?
Microsil?
So will that help cover, like coming down Smelter Hill, there's some areas where the pavement seems to just kind of rutted out.
Mhm.
Does that fix that?
Yeah, they're gonna do a double application, so they'll come through with type 3 right lane, type 3 first, and then they'll put a type 2 on top of it, which is a coarser on the bottom and then a smoother, so it'll be smooth as well. I mean, it's not, I hate to say it, it's kind of like a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
We were having the discussion on our way up, why didn't we just mill it out and pave it when we're doing this and make it even better? But I don't know the logic. We don't do the planning, that comes out of Phoenix. But it's a good product. I like it.
Okay.
And we're doing one, like I said, through Duncan, from the county line to Duncan, and I think that'll be a good improvement.
I've gotten where I've learned how to slalom through the
Yeah.
potholes coming down. I feel like a skier.
But it should fill it in, and we did some spot repairs. You notice there's been some milled out areas and pavement put in, the really bad areas.
One right now.
Yeah, that'd be
And so
great.
we'll cover all that up with a micro seal, so it'll all be black, new paint. It'll look good, be smooth for a while,
Wow.
a couple of years. I don't know. All the traffic, that's a problem. We got
Yeah.
10,000 cars going each way every
And
day.
heavy,
Yeah,
a lot of heavy
holy
traffic.
cow. Yeah,
150 to 200 semis a day.
Yeah. yeah.
Yeah. The other question, and like I said, I'll have Supervisor Vern follow up on this, but we've been working on a revamp of our Green County Fairgrounds. And we're looking at changing the access point. There's 2 access points right now by the Little League field. One needs to be abandoned. It's off down and not used as much, but we have a service entrance and we're hoping to establish another entryway onto the highway. And we're wondering, I know that some of our folks have visited you, David Manus, our engineer. Any event, is there anything we can do to assist or help that? What can we do to make that an easier process from our end?
That goes through our permit office, because that'll require an access permit through, which is the same office I work out of.
Okay.
You can go online and find I can give you the contact information if you like. Susie Puzitz is our permit supervisor. Just call her up and say, here's what we want to do. I don't know if you've started already.
I believe we've
Is it
started.
moving? But what you do is you fill out an application. What are you going to do? A sketch of what's going on. And we determine the width for however many cars. I mean, the fairground's probably going to be a fairly wide turnout. It needs to be paved, of course, improved. But you have to have traffic control, a plan, all the insurance is in place. But Susie over in our permits office can help you with that if you just keep in touch with her. That's a who's that? Puzas. Her name's Susan.
I know that our road supervisors from out there, because we work with her on various projects, where our roads interface with state highways and so forth. We just wanted to know how we can grease the skids as best we can. We're trying to move forward on that project, and we envision a much better traffic flow if we can.
Yeah, the key is with permits, they get an application, right? You fill out an application. But and if you go online, you can find all this stuff and it tells you what you need. But the biggest hurdle we have is it gets piecemeal. Okay, here's the application. Okay, here's the traffic control plan. Okay, here's our contractor that's going to do it. Here's our drive. I mean, if you put the whole package together, that's what makes it streamlined. And then there'll be less back and forth, because they'll come back and say, oh, well, we need insurance and we need a traffic control plan. And so our traffic control goes to regional traffic. So that takes time. Our insurance has to go to risk management in Phoenix. So that takes time for them to review, approve. And if it doesn't get approved, then it comes back to you and then it comes back to us. And so the cleaner you can have it, the better off it streamlines. And it's a process. I mean, people think that I applied, where's my permit? Well, it takes months sometimes, if you don't have all the documents, it takes months. And the reason, that we're so picky, first of all, a lot of it falls under statute and the risk to the state. If we don't have traffic control out there and somebody gets killed, guess who gets sued? We're the deep, yeah. But ADOS got the deep pocket, so to speak. I guess, I don't know. That's why our roads are so rough, because we don't have any money to fix them. What else?
Anybody else?
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
You bet.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. All right. I'm gonna sneak out and go look at the projects. All right, thanks,
Thank
guys.
you. A good one. Okay, we'll move into the next item of business. Item number 6, public hearing. Entertain for motion.
I move that we adjourn the public hearing.
Second on motion.
Motion has been made and second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. We are now in public hearing. A request by Montoya Investments LLC to change the zoning district of parcel number 500-10-004 G, 510-004 I, 500-10-004 J, and 510-004 K from RU 36 to MR-A multiple household minimum lot area per dwelling unit, 3,000 square feet. The commission had a favorable recommendation with a vote of 4-2 on all 4 parcels, with the stipulation that the lots are not less than half an acre. Anyone want to address this issue?
I just
Besides
wanted to make
Katie?
sure nobody wanted to talk about it first.
Okay,
Don't close that. Anybody want to talk in public hearing on this agenda item?
Or is your state your name and title, please?
John White, and I live, I own the property next to this acreage. And my main concern on the whole thing is taken care of by the half acre. I was concerned about that 3,000 square foot lot size. But I would like to see a plan of what they're planning on doing with the property by being right next door. But the half acre lot size, that helps a lot. But they need to do a soil sample on it though, because that ground moves. And you drive in it and you get stuck real easy, so. And my house has 41 yards of concrete under it to keep it stable. Right next door to it, so need to do some planning on that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. White.
Is there somebody here from Montoya Investments LLC? No. Okay. Anyone else? Hearing none. Then we'll adjourn from public hearing and move into our next item of business. Aiden LaFoy, planning and zoning, the floor is yours.
All right, good morning. So this was from a previous meeting. They had voted to take it off the consent agenda so that we could discuss some of the concerns that the people had with this lot. And like he said, some of them were addressed with, so there's just kind of to paint a picture of it. There's 4 parcels involved in this. It looks like it's one big one, but it's 4 different parcels. And with MRA, traditionally, you can do 3,000 square foot lot, like a house every 3,000 square feet. And that was a big concern they had, because with a 4-acre lot, you could get quite a bit of density out there. So during the commission meeting, we had come up with the stipulation that each house, modular home, whatever you want to call it, would have to have a half-acre lot with it. So that would cut it down to 8 could be out there total. So really reduces the density there. And I know there was other concerns brought up, like mobile homes, things like trailers, RVs, things like that. In this designation, you can't have an RV park or anything like that. So it has to be either the modular home or a site-built home, or something like that. If they were wanting to do an RV park, it would be a whole separate zone for that. So I know they had been concerned about that, but This is simply just to get the zoning turned over. In the process, when they start moving in, it'll require all that stuff, the soil evaluation, water, all that stuff is part of the process. This is just to get the zoning turned over. So, we don't have the map with us, but when we get the actual permit, that's when kind of that stuff starts coming in, because the rezoning is a little bit more theoretical in a way than the actual permit. So this just gives them the opportunity to develop that if they'd like, but it does limit them to 1/2 acre lots. And so that would be 8 houses there, because it's about 4 acres out there. So any questions you have, I can answer. I don't know if there was anything else I could.
So the maximum amount of lots could be out there is 8.
Right, yes,
And
with
that's
the way it
within-
is.
That would stay that way.
Correct, because it's a
And that's
stipulation.
Zoning.
Correct. It'll be a stipulation that in these meeting minutes goes into the notes and stays there. So if somebody challenged it someday, we pull up the notes and say, here's what was actually approved and keep track of it. So,
So that was one of my concerns too. So 1/2 acre lots would be the smallest thing.
yes,
So with Mr. White's concerns over here. While the process is going on, he can be provided probably a design that Montoya Investments LLC might turn in when they're,
yeah. And I can be in touch with the developer to say that you would like to see some of that stuff and just exchange contact information so that they can be in touch there.
Okay.
So, yeah.
is that
Are
good
you
enough?
comfortable with
Mr.
that,
White?
Mr. White?
Yeah, it'd be kind of hypocritical for me to say they couldn't have, that was against manufactured homes since I live in one.
Yeah, and when people apply for this, we get contact info, and I think that when developers come in, it's good to keep people up to date. So I'll definitely pass that along, that they need to try to have discussions with the local area to make sure there's a plan in place and things like that.
And at the end of the day, there's 8 more rooftops.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
Yeah, it's not a bad area either. It's right there off the highway across from Family Dollar, so.
Okay. Anything else? Anyone? No. Comments, concerns? Okay, thank you
All right.
for that information. Appreciate it.
you want that one?
Okay, we will. Yes, I entertain for motion.
I make a motion that we move ahead with the planning and zoning to change the zoning of the parcels. Go through all parcels.
For the record,
Yeah.
Parcels, regarding approval of the request by Montoya Investments LLC to change the parcel number 510-004G, 510-004I, 510-004J, and 510-004K from RU 36 to MRA.
With this,
With the stipulation that the lots are not less than 1/2 acre.
I'll second that.
motion has been made and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, call for vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, ayes have it, so ordered. Okay. Thank you. We'll move into our next item of business. David Manus, Public Works Road Manager, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Hayden. Yes.
Should be on both. It should be on both.
It is.
Okay. Okay.
You got one, Dave?
Thanks, David.
Hi, my name is David Manus, Public Works Road Manager, landfill. This is a continuation from the meeting of April 22nd. You know, every time I start one of these, I try to do it without my glasses. And I just need to except the fact that I can't see no more. So anyway, this on the meeting of April 22nd, I was granted permission to go out for bid for the chip seal 2025 chip seal project for oil emulsions and fractured 3/8 chips. We went through the bid process. All our bids, closed bids came in. We opened them. That paper in front of you has all the prices per tons, and the total prices for everybody that put in a closed bid. I'll start with the fractured chips. I'm requesting permission to go with Tri-County Materials. They were the lowest bidder. And we've used them in the past and we've been happy with their fractured chips. They're pretty clean and we've just had good luck with them. So requesting permission to award the bid to purchase 3/8 fractured chips for the 2025 chip seal project to Tri-County Materials.
So David, I know that Tri-County did not include tax on their proposal, but I'm assuming the tax will be charged. The other ones included tax, in their proposal. Also, on Tri-County, it says FOB from the plant, in Safford. So, but did our quote request it be the delivered cost?
Yes, sir.
So there won't be delivery costs on top of?
That's with the delivery cost right there. Yes, sir.
Only because on their quote, it does say prices are FOB. The plant trucks are available by the hour and price on request, which doesn't sound like.
Yeah, on the bid, it was written delivered to the locations and we have 3 locations. So that, and they're aware of the locations that we're hauling to already. In fact, they plan on starting to haul probably as soon as.
And I know you've dealt with them before, it's just that their proposal did not spell it out. They probably just defaulted their quote based on, them quoting with somebody else.
And the tax couldn't be more than 10%, right?
Right.
So.
Yeah, so I mean,
77,000.
It doesn't make.
Yeah.
Make a difference on the decision, but I just want to make sure that they don't add delivery costs and tax and then it.
Yeah.
It's close to the other bids.
Yeah, and I know I talked to Peter, who is the owner down there, and that's the total amount right there.
All right, well, I entertain for motion on this one.
I move that we approve, the award to purchase the 3/8 fractured chips for the 2025 chip seal project to Tri-County Materials in the amount of $70,000.
I second that motion.
Motion has been made in second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I call for vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it, so ordered. Okay. Going to B.
The other one I had was the bid for the oil emulsions. We had 2 bidders on that, Western Emulsions and Hawker and Evans Asphalt. We've used both of them. We've been happy with both of them. Requested permission to go with Western Emulsions. They were the lowest bidder on this one.
Western and Walker, both out of,
The Phoenix area.
both out of.
Yes, sir.
And again, this is the delivered copy, correct? This is the delivery.
Yes,
the delivery
yes,
copy.
sir. Mhm.
So that's the final cost.
Okay, pretty clear.
I'd like to
Entertain for motion.
I'd like to make a motion that with the chip seal bid for oil emulsions, we proceed with lesser emulsions. The total of $152,858.84.
I'll second that.
Motion has been made in second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, call for vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Let's have it so ordered.
Thank you. Quick question, when are you potentially planning on proceeding if everything goes well?
June 9th. We plan on going from June 9th to the 12th, Monday through Thursday. We'll continue on June 16th, hopefully to finish up on the 16th. And we left the 17th open just in case we have a breakdown or something like that. So by the 17th, we should be done and out of there.
So basically June 9th to the 17th.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
you start the loops. You're doing all the loops south of the freeway this year?
Yes, sir. We're gonna start at the three-way, the airport right there. And then we'll hit Carroll Loop and then all the loops all the way down to Cosper Loop. And then right there at Cosper Loop, we'll do the fairway and that little housing development right there, Country Club. And then shoot towards Duncan all the way to Carlisle.
Be a big year.
Yes, sir. We're looking forward to it. We're excited about it.
Keep up the good work.
Heck, yeah.
Thanks, David. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Okay. Where's our illustrious engineer? Reed Larson.
Let me go next door and see if he's coming.
Okay.
Be the best little boy back then.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
We have a better look. Read.
I'm behind you, can't even see, I'm invisible. I said, well, I'm,
Our next
Well, I-
item of business is from the engineering department, and it's discussion and action regarding approval to go out for bid for construction of the concrete pad for the middle building to serve as the new public works facility. Gene, the floor is
Yeah.
yours.
yeah, well, I'm not Reed Larson. I am in engineering and he asked me if I would do this. He's out working on some things this morning already. And I think you have this in front of you. This is just the next step in this process for getting this new building out at Public Works, and it's for the concrete portion of it. So he's just asking permission to go out to the bid. Bring it to you when we have the bid in hand.
Right? Folks have any questions, any concerns?
No, sir.
All right, well then I entertain for motion.
I move that we approve to go out to bid for the construction of the concrete pad for the metal building to serve as the new public works facility.
I second that motion.
Motion has been made and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Nice have it, so ordered. Okay, thank you, Gene.
Okay.
Appreciate it. We'll move into our next item of business. Eric Ellison, County Sheriff. Floor is yours.
Good morning, Eric Ellison, Sheriff. Chairman, Board. Today, I just want to discuss the purchase of the Polaris Expedition, and that was for the purpose of getting into the hard areas like Lower Eagle and the Frisco to help people where we just can't get there currently. And we know about the tragedy that happened a few weeks ago, and this would give us the ability to make quick action to get there to help in circumstances such as fights, domestics, sexual assaults, those types of things that happen with large amounts of people. Memorial Day weekend is going to be, it's going to be a lot of people. We're thinking about 1,600 people in the Frisco and 1,600 people possibly in Lower Eagle. That's a lot of people. And this equipment will give us the ability to do some law enforcement actions if needed in those areas where we currently can't. So that was what we're asking is we could get this. We've got bids, and we got the lowest bid was, I think it was 34,000. I provided copies for that unit, which was actually a pretty good deal because most of them were around anywhere from 38 to 42,000.
Can you get that number, the not to exceed number, the attachment?
Yeah, the not to exceed was.
Isn't the correct attachment on that agenda item?
Okay.
It actually, it's that attachment for his, is actually the attachment for the recovery. So we don't have the backup data for item number 10.
While she finds that,
Same thing.
while she locates that, this is
All that is not exceed number.
correct. It would be not exceed 40,000. As I understand it, there's the base vehicle and there's a few attachments that will be attached to it to allow them to take equipment, like a rack, I believe it is.
It was a rack and a, was it? No, the Starlink. Starlink was communications. We can't, we have no
Oh, yeah.
communications. Cell phones don't work, radios don't work. So there was a request for a Starlink that would give us, be able to to communicate in those areas where it just, there's nothing else that works but a Starlink. So.
The other is that we build this purchase to our contingency fund. This is something we could not have anticipated last year as we built the budget. There wasn't a specific slot for it. But I think the need is urgent. Obviously, we're right on the Memorial Day weekend, and I believe it can be delivered by this weekend. Cannot.
It can be delivered by 9 o'clock today. So it could be here now if we wanted to. Yes.
All right, but in any event,
Let's make that happen.
yes, the not to exceed number would be 40,000. And
Okay.
I apologize, we didn't.
That's all right. I didn't go to the last night.
Good catch by Mr.
It is very solid. I understand it's made of concrete.
Big car.
Yeah.
Well, I moved that we approve the purchase of the 2024 Polaris. Is it 2024?
It's a 2024. It's a 24. That's why we got the better deal on it.
24 Polaris Expedition and Advance 1000 ULC in the amount not to exceed $40,000.
I second that motion.
Motion has been made and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it, so ordered.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, we want to go for a ride. All right, we'll move into our next item of business. Derek Rapier, County Administrator, the floor is yours.
This is more information unless you have an idea already, but this is the time of year as the legislature, it used to be when the legislature closed end of April, around May, wrap up was starting to happen. Unfortunately, the last several years, they seem to be unable to leave Phoenix until late June. I guess they like the heat, but nevertheless, our timetable for next year doesn't change regardless of how the legislature starts. So CSA last week put out a call for proposals. And so I simply wanted to bring to the board's attention, if there are things that we believe could be done better, that there could be a policy fix at the state level, now's the time to develop that policy idea and submit it to CSA. Their deadline for submission is August 4th, early August. And so if there's some ideas that we think could be better done, if you want to develop them, flesh them out in-house, we can then put together a proposal. You recall several years ago, we put together a proposal to change the formula by which out-of-county tuition was formulated. We pitched that at the CSA conference that year, withdrew it, and then came back later once we had all the stakeholders on board, and CSA backed that through a successful run, and it was signed. We also have seen, for example, our neighbor in Grand County ask for a policy change so that places that serve food in bulk could package that food up, freeze dry it where they do, and then make it available to homeless populations or other service centers. And that wasn't allowed by law before. So even the smallest of counties have made policy differences that make statewide difference. So if you have something in mind, let staff know. We'll help you develop it. And then typically CSA asks that we run that through our own board so that there's unanimous approval. That this is something, or at least a majority approval, this is something that we want to pursue. And then we'll develop that, and then CSA will help us develop it into an actual legislative proposal that is presented at the annual conference in October. So I want to, like I say, raise awareness of that, and then we'll go from there. Okay, and we don't typically do something every year. Some counties put something forward. Pima County will put forward a legislative slate every year, and almost none of them will make it. Yuma, yes. It's
So this year, Green Lake County is so far.
we have not put forward one in several years. But like I say, there may be maybe some things, and we as staff will look at as well. So there's anything that we think could be addressed. So.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you, Derek. All right, we'll move into our next item of business after we take do we want to take a break? Do we want to get started on the budget session? What do we?
It'll be fairly short today.
Fairly short?
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Mr.
let's,
Chairman.
okay, well, we'll move into our next item of business, the budget work session. Discussion and direction regarding components of the 2025-26 budget. Floor is yours, Jared.
I'm gonna have Austin and Renee cover a lot of our discussion today. We'll also ask the sheriff to weigh in on one line item. I will tell you that if we had visuals, you'd see that we are very close on being balanced. And in that balanced budget, we have included several of the items that Austin and Renee and the sheriff will talk about. It doesn't mean they need to be included, but we've accounted for most of that already. I will let you know that the numbers that could we show them to you today, they will change somewhat. We are, for example, we don't have our out of county tuition assessment yet. I just received literally this morning, a few minutes ago, our ASIP, our insurance assessment. And so that would need to be broken out, and put into the budget. We also, feels like a soap opera. We're being strung along here. Secure rural schools, we were told, is now bipartisanly supported in the reconciliation at the federal level. What does that mean? That means $300,000 for our road program and about $250,000 to $300,000 that goes to our schools. If you've been following that story at all, there were some, and they haven't got through all the heartburn. In fact, I believe President Trump is going to meet with congressional Republicans today to twist some arms. They say it nicer than that in the news story, but it's basically get on board. But there's some hangups, and there are at least 3 or 4 different sub caucuses of the Republican Party that are holding out for things. But at this point, secure rural schools has been included, and that's not one of the holdout issues. So that's positive, but we won't know that for certain. The last is that, well, the last for the moment is that we believe we received the PILT amount that we were predicted at the first of the year. There can be some variation of that, but PILT will, it is funded for the current fiscal year. It generally comes end of May. Somewhere's right in there. Middle of June, right at the tail end. But we know it's coming in, and we have a good idea how much that is. There will be a few other numbers that will need to be adjusted, but we're close on a balance. So with that, I'm going to ask first Renee to talk about how close we are and what adjustments we've made just recently. And then we'll ask Austin to talk about market adjustments that we've been discussing with the board for a couple of years and give you a pretty close ballpark price tag on that market adjustments.
Okay, so we're within, if we were looking at the sheet right now, we would be $138,000 off. Now, there's still a lot of small minor adjustments that we're going to make, but we can balance this budget based off everything that everyone has presented. It's sustainable. We'll be able to go forward. We've been able to transfer an extra $700,000 to our financial stability fund. So that's something we've been trying to do as our budget increases on our expense side and our wages. We're close. There's not very many other changes that are gonna make this. We're within hundreds of couple $100,000 swing either way. We're able to cover what's out there. Even with if they don't give us secure rural schools, it's not a problem. Because we can cut from we're transferring to our capital improvement fund to help build that up for future use, but we can eliminate that transfer if we need to, because we have LATCF funds that we can use for our special projects that we still have not spent. So we're in a good position for now. We'll get to evaluate our revenues for the next couple of years, and hopefully they continue to get a higher trend.
Great. Have we met with every department head and elect?
No.
Having
But
said that,
Have they
we've
requested-
extended the invitation.
Okay.
Have they requested to meet?
The budgets billed, they're not any much different than they are this year. Than what they're working this year. Everyone's under budget, no one's busted budget. Line items that were exceeded, I increased them on their individual budgets with the opportunity to take away from other line items if we need to reduce their budget. So they'll be able to operate their office, whether they meet with us in time or not.
You're counting the build funds and the.
SRS?
School funds, SRS.
Yeah, we're gonna account for both of them. If we,
In your budget.
if we don't get in the
But
budget,
if you don't get the rural schools, you're still okay.
yes.
What, there's a, because we only budget once a year and Chairman Gomez and Supervisor Campbell are familiar with this. If we don't budget it, we can't use it. So if we don't put it in as a line item and that money comes in, we have to sit on it and we can't use it. So better to build the budget capacity and not have it filled than to not build the budget capacity and not be able to use it. We have, for example, on our revenue side, a line item that we created about 5 years ago that is called unanticipated grants. We know that in the grant process, for example, the Freeport Community Foundation grants, we're applying now, but we won't know until October, well into the budget season. So we will create space in our budget. And then if we don't receive the grant, we don't spend the money, but we'll have the budget capacity to do it if we need to. So.
And that's for the unexpected. So like when we're having our meetings and they know they've been approved for a grant and they're waiting on funds. I keep that separate. I go and create their own budget. They're accounted for. They don't have to take away from that unexpected pot.
Has any department or office been reduced this year compared to last year?
I don't think so. There's a couple of budgets,
Yeah.
mostly under the board's control, that are even or maybe slightly less, but
They'll remain the same, but they're not. You're not gonna see dramatic decreases because of salary increase, retirement rates. I mean, Arizona State retirement went down by 0.27, but that's not a drastic change. Our PSPRS rate, it jumped from 16 to 20. So that hurts us a little bit.
you'll recall when we brought our unfunded liability up and paid it off three and a half years ago. One of the things that we want to do is stay close enough that so we don't get $1.5 million, $2 million behind again. By adjusting that rate from the state, that accounts for that drop in the market. There are a couple things that affect that. If we, for example, bring in lateral employees with a lot of experience, not looking at you, Gabe. No, if we bring in lateral employment, then our contribution will go up because we've got shorter time to fund that retirement. But likewise, the market affects it. It is an investment fund. It's a typical pension fund, and so there'll be fluctuations. But that adjustment in rate will cause, and we covered this with the sheriff yesterday, it'll cause that to go up. There's another thing that the sheriff rightfully brought to our attention, and unfortunately, there's not much we can do about it. But because of the retirement systems that some elected officials are in, we are required to pay a what do they call it?
The legacy contribution.
A legacy contribution. In other words, the sheriff and some other elected officials are not in the EOR elected officials retirement program, but because that is a closed program, we're required to pay something on their behalf anyway. And it's expensive. It was a poorly engineered program and then even more poorly funded, but nevertheless, it's there. And so those have hit. You'll also recall the elected official salaries went up starting January 1st. So that half of that increase occurred in fiscal year 25. The other half hits fiscal year 26. So nobody's lower, but nobody, and to be honest, nobody's coming asking for anything excessive.
No,
it's been-
it's staying within their budgets. Every elected head and department head, they're doing great on being conservative with their budgets, so they're allowing us to have a cushion to continue building forward and build our financial stability fund along with, the additional extra state sales tax revenue that we received that we didn't plan on. So.
Great.
Has anyone asked for an excess of last year's budget?
No.
On the flip side of Mr. Campbell's question?
No, it's all county needs. It's mostly vehicles. It would be Tony. That's a big line item, but we have a rotation.
And Tony.
That's our biggest line item is motor vehicles or equipment.
our biggest single expense is people.
Yeah.
I mean, across every department, it's people.
And we wanted the board, well, so you did build in.
We did.
Is there any department that's understaffed by someone that retired or left or whatever that they haven't filled?
We have
Sure,
several
where-
vacancies within the county that are there. Some of them they just have not posted. Some of them they will be. They're doing some changes during this budget time to some of the titles. But there's not anything that's necessarily just been left sitting. They're in process working on them. So we're not reducing any headcount on it.
Off the top of your head, what departments those are?
I know we have a part-time in the assessor. I think we are full in roads, but that one kind of comes up and back. Trying to think. I know some of the positions with health, but I think we reduced those out of the budget last year, so I don't think they're there anymore, but there were some vacant positions there. We probably will reduce some more positions in health coming on, just different routes as far as people going into contract business and wanting to do it that way. And some of those positions got reverted to the state. So we lost a little bit there. But as far as open positions, I think we may have some custodial positions. I think roads just got filled. So we're pretty close to full for what's out there. With the exception of what the assessor has coming. So.
Well, in the sheriff's office.
Yeah,
of course,
well, that
there's
one's-
always vacancies there.
There's always something there. They're working on those positions, but we actually, even on that, on the sheriff's department, we're more full than we've been in a long time.
With plans. Fully staffed.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
And we will budget for vacancies even if they're there because we fully intend that those positions be filled. So we will, those are all built into the budget.
And they're required training.
Yes.
Yes, we'll make certain that we don't have untrained deputies out there.
Yes.
That would be a liability.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're gonna move on to the next.
Yep.
Get the market adjustments with another one.
Yeah, so right now, market adjustments, our overall market adjustments, so we've had some in the sheriff's group, some in the assessors group, some in the admin groups. With that total right now, we're at about 121,000. I think we'll stay under 150. I still have a couple of more to go through on that. The other thing with those market adjustments, we have not moved our scale since 23. So this year I want to do effectively a cost of living increase, which would bring our scales up by 3%. So that 3% raise will go straight into the scale. And that way it keeps our scale on pace. We didn't move it the last 2 years, so this is kind of the catch-up year to get the scale back where it should be. Ideally, next year, if we give a raise, we'll do a percentage of that towards COLA, and the rest will be towards, time here.
Okay, sounds good.
The other thing we wanted to address, the one, I'm going to give him a hard time just because it's easy to give a hard time to.
To know the sheriff question.
Yeah, the sheriff question is simply this. One of the things that has been a challenge, and it's been a challenge in the industry for some time, is recruiting and retaining qualified deputies. And it's not just here, it's statewide. And frankly, right now it's been nationwide. We saw the decline begin after the Black Lives Matter movement. And it being a community partner lost some of its shine during that period of time. And it's been harder to find folks. One of the tools, and the study is still ongoing, but CSA partnered with the state universities to try and figure out how do you go find those individuals that would be suited for this profession? And then once you find them, how do you keep them? It's a high stress job. It requires more training than usual. And one of the things they came across was that on surveys statewide, they found that law enforcement personnel put more value on something like a housing stipend than they did on a flat out raise. And so with that, I'm going to ask the sheriff to explain how he feels that will help in his department. And then we can talk a little bit about how that works on our side in terms of costs.
That's strange that was going through my mind. It's housing, I was gonna say,
You're
we need
clairvoyant.
housing for these guys. Yeah, that was going right through my head when you were talking, Derek, and I hadn't heard anything about this.
Yeah, so this is a huge problem throughout the whole state. And right now we are getting a lot of applicants. I think we're close to 13, 14 applicants, and we have like 4 deputy positions to fill. The problem is when we train somebody, it can cost $10,000 to $15,000 to send them to academy. And then we train them. And if they get a higher offer from another agency, where there's a lot of agencies out there that are like DPS is going to go to their next year, they'll be making $120,000 a year for just a topped out officer. That's a lot of money. You know, right now they're at 107,000. So that's a hard for us to compete with that. And we want people to stay here. We want people to live here. And if we train somebody and they're here for a year or two and they're gone, well, we just got them broke in and they just started learning our people and now they're gone. And so to get a good community policing, you need people that are going to stay. And that way they can learn their people, know their people, and love their people. If they're not doing that, we're not doing a good job community policing. And so with this housing stipend, it would be able to keep those people and retain them here. And that's the push for the housing stipend. With our budget, I figured out why Renee lost his hair, because I mean, well, we did like 6-8 hours just battling this budget out, and it was tough, guys. It was really, really hard. And these two guys, I gotta give them credit. They sat in my office and man, we worked hard at it. So kudos to them. It was tough because a lot of the areas that we got hit with like it was like $85,000, $91,000, what Derek was talking before. I'm like, man, we budgeted. We got rid of our lieutenant position so we could have extra funds to, you know, to do the positions and give raises and develop and restructure the sheriff's office. We got rid of that position, was $100,000. We're paying a grant for a school resource officer. It doesn't cost the county any money. Or one of our investigator positions plus sergeant is going to get paid through a grant. It saves the county another $100,000. So that's almost $300,000 there. And then we purchased vehicles out of the jail enhancement fund to save you guys. We saved you $160,000 there that the county's not paying. That came out of our funds, the jail enhancement fund. So we saved you money there. So we saved quite a bit of money trying to restructure these things. The only thing we didn't have is the money for the housing stipend, and that's to keep those guys here. And we tried, but with all these retirement raises and stuff that was just uninspected, it really hurt our budget bad for training. It really did. And we want good quality deputies, and that's the whole point of this. And so that's the housing stipend. We put it as $160,000. That's $10,000 for each deputy to maintain a house in the county and stay within our county, not living in Safford, not living in Thatcher. We'll go ahead and put Verdon in there because it's our net. It's just 2-3 miles within the county, but that will keep employees here and keep them here. And that way you don't have to keep chasing employees and retraining them and reintroducing them to the community. And so that's the goal of the housing stipend. So
That's for your existing employees and the
correct. Right, correct.
potential new ones coming.
And correct.
This is for the deputies and sergeants, right? So you have your 16 total.
So I'm sorry.
No, good. We're gonna ask some questions.
Touch base a little bit on that stipend. How does this stipend work?
So they don't get it in a lump sum. They'll be getting it per month. And so, yeah. And I mean, we don't want them go and buying their own side by side, right? You know, with a lump sum. No, we've hit everything from our uniforms. We've noticed, we've hit everything, our budget to, right now we had a $1,200 uniform allowance, right? We're looking at going to a star card, which it's just like a quartermaster's where they would only be allotted so many uniforms and they could go buy uniforms at the dealer. And then that will save us money instead of just coming out, right? Spending money. So we've really, I mean, I don't know how many times I went through. I started dreaming about numbers and budget, and I haven't slept for 2 weeks because of this thing. But to be honest, it's been a lot of work, and we really went through that budget with a fine tooth comb. We really have. But this is the part I need help with. And if we really we want to keep our deputies here, this is, in my opinion, probably the most efficient way of doing it, because it will be expensive to retrain them and retrain them and retrain them. And I think that'll cost more in the long run.
So is it set up like $750 a month or something?
Something like that. I think it's like 8. Yeah. It's I think it's like $832. Something. I don't know if my math is right, but
Eric, how many of your force is living out of the county? I know that you live in an RV, don't you? In your own RV? Yeah.
so currently, there was a lot before I took office, but right now we have one living in Verdon and one potentially going to move to Verdon. That's it. So right
Oh,
now,
there's no one in Graham or Sister County?
no, we have jail staff that lives down there, but they're not deputies. My goal, and I think it's extremely important to have deputies that live in their community because they go to church here, they play baseball here, they do all their activities, social activities here, and it needs to be here and not in another community because just being law enforcement isn't just about enforcing the law, it's being part of the community. And that's why it's so important to keep them here so we can do good community policing.
Now, did they move in after you took over, or did they leave and you hired?
Some left and then some moved in. Correct. Yes. Yeah. But that I just I did not agree with having them outside the county.
Question, I know that FMI supports us in providing housing for some, law enforcement officers, which is incredibly welcome. You know what I mean? Being able to, and strategically putting them in those homes that are, right across from the school and things like that. That's awesome. And right at the end of my street. So that's just in case it gets rowdy. But it's number five.
5, they will not move up and they will not budge. I've asked, and so every meeting, Mr. Briardo is getting a little aggravated with me because every single time I go in there, I say, "Hey," he says, "No, we're not giving you a house." But so I ask every single time, and it's okay if they tell me no. But I mean,
5. That's
5.
great. I think it always has been roughly that.
Correct.
They probably offer a couple of Clifton as well. But
Correct.
Answer my question.
And you said 16. Are you looking to stay at that number? Or are you looking to? I know this is.
Well, I've never been there, so.
We're going to be there. We're going to be by this time next year. We're going to be fully staffed. We're going to be fully staffed.
16 will be the number next year at this time too.
Correct. I mean, I'll take more if you want to give me more, but
I'm just kind of wondering what you're looking at for police.
And that, yeah, that's
the right number.
Yeah, and that's, so we'll have 16 deputies. We have the detention staff. I think we're lacking 3 detention officers. We will be fully staffed within a month or within next month in detention. However, we're pulling 2 guys out of detention and sending them to academy, and that'll drop us back down to 2 missing in there. So our numbers are going up. I don't know. Everybody's putting their applications in. This is it's a good thing. It's good. And we got a lot of community people in it.
Start going in over there, our population is gonna kind of grow, and we're gonna have to consider a few more officers.
And your population's gonna.
Law-abiding people, we won't need any more officers.
Well, that you kind of answer that too. And you have good law enforcement that's protecting the people, you're gonna have your population's gonna feel better and move in,
Sure.
So when you have a good law enforcement agency that's professional, we're gonna give the services that we need to give. You're gonna have a better feeling about Greenlee County.
I think that the housing statement was a great idea to help to bring, those, invite them to live here, to be part of the community, to show a presence, because you guys are never off duty, right? Everybody knows who the law enforcement is, and so you're never off duty. And so being part of the community, I think that's great if we can swing it in our budget, whether that's 700 to 900, whatever that is per month, to entice and to reward those people to stay in our community. I think it's a great move.
If the board feels that way, and like the budget we worked on that was last night has it in there. So unless you'd like to take it out or modify it. Let me make a couple of points. One, I want to commend the sheriff. He's very complimentary of our staff as he should be, but he's worked at this. And I'll be honest with you, the fact that there were any hours or even minutes spent in the same room talking about a budget is a fresh start that we really appreciate. he has come through his budget. One of the areas that you'll recall for the last several years that's been a problem is managing overtime. There's simply not been any overtime management. They've revamped their schedules, they've revamped how they provide services, they've revamped, well, they put management controls on that line item. What does that do? That frees us up to do some things like this, and I appreciate that. He's found we're not the first county to do this. So we've got a roadmap of a policy that we can adapt to our county. So we're not, breaking through the ice first. But I commend the sheriff for having found that and laid the groundwork. So that'll make it easier. One of the other things that he has done, and you want to get Sheriff grouchy, threatened to take away his training budget. Because he's put a focus on not only getting bodies, but getting well-qualified bodies. And I've had even one of our judges pull me aside and talk about the quality, for example, of the warrants that they're reviewing, put together by the sheriff's office. That doesn't just happen. That happens because they've had access to people who've done it and they get training. And so his focus on training, his management of some of the other costs that have been unmanaged are exemplary. Now, from our point of view, from the budget side, because I get to be the parent who says, no. A stipend actually is less expensive for us as well. There are no employee-related expenses attached to that. It's also one of those things that can be toggled on and off. So we know that sometimes the copper market leaves us in a very, very tight position. And if that were to come about, we feel it all through the community. And if we needed to toggle that off or scale it back, it could be done. We don't anticipate that because this is a tool that we intend to use. But it does give the board and the finance side of this equation some flexibility that wage increases don't, and it's less expensive. The burden is still on them to find the place to live, but this can certainly help. And this is a specialized population within the county employee family it's hard to find, hard to retain. And I think this is a tool that will help us achieve both goals.
Yeah, and along those lines too, on the overtime, that you mentioned that the sheriff has really looked into, the overtime is nice, to get the money, but sometimes your life on overtime and burnout, I don't think I've ever seen an officer from Greenlee County in cities. I call it cities, just regular clothes. They're always, when you see them, they're on duty. I mean, everywhere you go, and that, and you can get burned out easily, very easily. So that's kudos to you, Sheriff, and Derek, putting this thing together, and you guys all together putting this thing together. That's a one-way road for success. Thank you.
All right.
I'd like to just say thank you all for working collaboratively. I think that's wonderful. I echo Derek's words that it's wonderful to be able to work together. I don't think this is the first hurdle we'll have to get over, nor the last. So the more we do it, the better we'll get at it. And then I think the stipend is a wonderful idea. I know it's a great morale booster, and I agree. I think the stipend is much more of a motivator at times than actually giving them a raise. I think it's going to be collaboratively great morale builder, assist every great work. Thank you very much.
To put a bow on Austin's, are you comfortable? We've built it into the budget we've got already. Are you comfortable with the moving forward on the various market adjustments? I wanted Austin to cover a little bit more about how he does it. Could you take just a couple of minutes on how you go about deciding what a market adjustment is?
Yes, so majority of these market adjustments, the tool I probably use the most, and it's probably the most relevant for us is Arizona Association of Counties. Does a salary survey every single year. So they just did it in March, and so we have the new 2025 salary survey. So that gives all the counties. We usually go through it like at the small, so we're looking at Santa Cruz, Apache, Granite. Those are typically the counties we use for references. As we go through those, we look at what their scales have adjusted, where they fall, and then we try to be in that range with them. We usually pull an average down of those other counties or those salaries. How are we comparing? And when we start to really get stretched away from it, that's when we do these market adjustments and kind of reset to what the market is. Some positions we'll do a little bit different on. I know we're looking at the jail, that's kind of a harder one to look at. Detention's pretty well there. Some of our admin positions, some of the sheriff's positions, those can be a little harder to mark up against. But that's kind of where we start with. Some of our positions, we also look at kind of where our real competitive piece is. So for instance, our works two, our big competitor is going to be operators in the mine. That's equivalent to an operator one of the hill. We don't match to that, but we use that as a reference point to say where should we be, because we're not losing our operators to Grand County. We're losing operators. If we do, it's going to be up the hill, right? Either for a Freeport or a contractor. So we use those on those positions that have a direct correlation with positions here. Admin's one of those we use that. Right, our admins, we use admins since I've been here, the ones that have left all up the hill, right? And so we use that as a reference point to gauge that salary, but we start with their pay range, right? Freeport's been nice enough over the last couple of years now to get on their website, all their ranges are on their website, which is tremendously helpful for this side when we're using it as a reference. So that's how we go through and do it. And when we start to see it really starting to kind of, we're getting $1, $2 away, that's when you need to make a dollar or market adjustments back to market. So that's typically how I'm doing the process. And I try to go through all the positions on there. Like I said, I'm not quite done with it. I've been through most of them, but I go through and look at all those to see are we where we should be.
With that, like I say, we've got it currently built in the budget, so with your direction, we'll go ahead and continue to build the budget out that way. We will be able to throw numbers up on the board. We'll make sure that IT and finance are on the same board and we can throw that up. Like I said, we have a few large numbers that are still coming in, but we know the ballpark of what those numbers will be. So we're very close to balance, and we know exactly where the toggles are in the budget to bring us in balance. Where the question that the ghost of Richard Lunt will always ask is this sustainable? And I can tell you, yes, our cash position allows us, this is a very sustainable budget, even with the adjustments, even with the housing stipends and everything else. Looking forward, we're in very good shape. I sat down with Supervisor Warren early on and showed him how this process and where we go. And I think, frankly, many counties would love to be in our financial position right now. We're built to withstand some turbulence. When I had my costume on a few weeks back, some of the uncertainty has gone out of the economy, but not all of it. And we're built to withstand the uncertainty. So I believe it's sustainable. Going forward, we're in a good position, good cash position, and we're able to go forward.
Just quick on Eric, Renee, Austin, thank you guys for your diligence in putting this all together. And I did hear the ghost of Richard Love speaking through Renee, because he did say sustainable a couple of times. So you just can't get that out of your.
I want to secure you guys.
Anyway,
Or myself.
Thank you for the hard work. Thank you for getting us ahead.
Great
Great
job.
ahead in the mind.
Great job.
You have direction then, right? You're good.
You're good.
We do. I believe we got the direction we need.
Okay. Well, then we'll move into our next item of business. Derek, floor is yours, and Bianca.
I'm going to simply, we've covered budget items. I'm going to simply cover with you our revenue briefly. As the chart that I usually throw up that shows what our latest revenue numbers are. You'll recall our budget was built on $125,000 a month from our half-cent sales tax, our local sales tax. And we are close to that average, a little bit below, except for the month of March, where we only brought in 82,000. That was significantly below our projected average. Even with that, we are only $31,000 below our annual projection. So if we took the average of the previous 10 months and project that out 2 more months, we'd come up $31,000 short of what we had budgeted in revenues. On the state side, however, we are up 680,000 if we project that out. So this last month we received 532,000. Our budget was built on 425,000 per month. So that was, and it's still too early to call it a trend, but the numbers have held strong. Our last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months have exceeded our revenue projections on the state shared sales tax side of the equation. And we've actually been below projection one of the months in the current fiscal year. What does that mean? That means when you combine the two together, we are about $650,000 ahead of our revenue projection. Again, if those are equalized out and projected at the end of the year, that's not a huge miss when you look at a roughly $20 million budget. But it tells me that we're good. In fact, the budget we're coming up to, we are building on a $450,000 base. We want to continue to be conservative on it, but right now it looks like it'll hold. And so it's much better to have 650,000 more than you thought you were going to get than 650,000 less. We can make it work, but I sure like having the extra breathing room. So I hope we are as clairvoyant going forward as we were last year. It's good to be close to where we thought we would be. And there's a lot that can happen inside of a 12-month period. But we're in good financial position with our revenues coming in from two of our largest revenue sources. Our property tax, unlike most counties, we get almost all of them. We have the highest payment rate of any county in the state. PILT is funded this year and next year, and that comes in very predictable. So the main pillars of our revenue side of our budget have been steady. So, and that's all I've got on the budget side.
Okay. Bianca?
This week, promotions on Thursday, the 22nd for Morenci and Duncan. High school graduation Friday, May 23rd for both Morenci and Duncan. Our offices are closed on the 26th, Monday, for Memorial Day. And that week, our offices will be open until 6 p.m. So Tuesday through Thursday, 7 to 6 next week. That's all I have for May. Going into June, our first meeting, Tuesday the 3rd. And we do have a budget work session scheduled for that meeting. June 13th, Fridays, county managers. There's no CSA or small counties for the month of June. Our second board meeting on the 17th. And that will be the proposed budget to adopt the tentative budget on that meeting. And that's all I have for June. July 2nd or July 1st, our first board meeting. And for that 3rd or the 4th of July holidays, our offices are closed on Thursday, the 3rd. So again, that week, offices will be open from 7 to 6 that week. Monday through Wednesday. NACO conference on the 11th through the 14th. And that's in Philadelphia. Our second board meeting is, and we'll be adopting the final budget, will be July 22nd. No county managers, small counties or CSA for the month of July. That's all I have for.
If I might add one, are any of you planning on attending a meeting that'll be held in Graham County tomorrow regarding Highway 191? I would strongly suggest there only be one of you if someone does attend, but it would be good to have a member of the board there if one of you are available.
I was thinking of, what time is it at?
9 o'clock.
9?
Is it 9?
9 o'clock, Sheriff.
The Highway 191 meeting? Okay. If it's not, we will let you know. And it'll be at the Graham County Annex, right? Okay. Okay, then.
Lunch.
Was that weighing in your decision process?
We put it in the budget.
Hot dogs. You better not. Let's put enough in the budget.
Okay. Thank you, Bianca. We'll move into our next item of business consent agenda. Anything for motion?
I move that we approve the consent agenda as listed.
I second that motion.
Motion has been made a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. So ordered. Okay, we're moving to our next item of business, supervisor reports.
I don't have any share this week.
I currently don't have any either. I have future, so.
Well, I chimed in on all the meetings except small county the other day, ECO and CSA, but on those, in those meetings, Derek, are you forwarding the letters that Pascal is sending out on the Mexican Wolf and stuff to these gentlemen?
I'm getting in.
I was under the impression that they were all getting, but I will make sure that they are going out.
I had asked Pascal.
There's a lot going on with the Mexican Wolf situation.
I will review that and make sure that you're all included.
Okay. All right, and that thing went on and on the other day. The Eagle meeting. And then I had a Seagull board meeting on Friday, and just to highlight that board meeting with our new executive director, Chris Ventris, that they had an audit where they zero findings on there, so that's very good news, and that's all I have to report. And so at this point, this meeting is adjourned.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Maybe jealous of it.
No, fine.